Okay, so we're going to be talking about going from your AutoCAD drawing into Illustrator to make your final drawing. I'm going to use the exact same stuff I had for my AutoCAD tutorial in order to do this. So personally, let's take out the dimensions though. There's probably a nicer way to add those in Illustrator. Okay, so personally I'd like to have the whole drawing set up as much as possible before I get into Illustrator. So I'm going to make a polyline that's the size of my paper. So my side of my paper is 24 inches. I know it's going to be tiny, right? 20 by 24 inches by 24 inches. Okay, so this represents my piece of paper. I know that my drawing is going to be at a much smaller scale in order to fit on the paper. So to start out with, I always scale it by 12. And automatically, that is what would fit on the paper if we were to make the drawing at 1 inch on my drawing equals 1 foot on my paper, right? We already know from the AutoCAD tutorial that this is going to be about 1/4 inch, I think, or we do 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch equals 1 foot. So I'm going to double the size of this. So I'm going to select it, type in scale to the base point, and type in 2, and that'll make it twice as big. So now this is my piece of paper I'm working with. And let's see if that, that feels adequate. I actually think that's way too small. Not way too small, but I think, well, I guess we don't need a lot of the storefront in here, but we still want to get in our elevation. So I'm actually going to undo that. So now we're back to our 1 foot equals 1 inch paper. I'm going to scale this by 4. And now if we have our drawing at our main drawing at 1/4 inch equals 1 foot, that's how much space we have to work with. So I'm going to move this. So let's imagine that we're going to fit the plan on here. I don't want all of this plan, so I'm actually going to chop off what I won't use. So I'm going to draw a line here and then trim off the whole back of this that I'm not planning to use in this drawing. And I can make this a break line so that I know that this building continues, but my drawing does not. So to do that, I'm going to come to the middle of it, draw a line straight down, and then a line, I think it wants to be at 45 degrees. Let's turn off my, not my thing, let's turn off my ortho so it'll be happier doing that. So I think it wants to be 45 to there, click, and then same thing on the other side. So I can just take this and mirror it once. And then I can take it and mirror it again. And then I can delete this and trim out the middle. Trim out that, trim out that. Okay, so now I have my little break line that explains that like this building keeps going, but my drawing stops here. So I have this. I like to get everything lined up ahead of time, so I know that I want my elevation above my plan. So I'm going to go to my guidelines layer, which I think is just 0, and I'm going to draw in some lines that will allow me to do that. So I'm going to bring these. Should I have my ortho off? So put ortho on for this. I'm bringing these lines straight up. And then I'm going to bring my elevation up so I can line it up. And that looks like it's all aligned there. So I'll have my plan there and all my elevation there. I might scoot this down a little bit. And I wanted to have a ground line. It's missing one right now. So I'm going to get my exterior wall line. This is the thickest line I have. And draw that as my ground line here. Okay, so I have that lined up to that. And then I don't think I want this exactly centered because I want room for our detail on one side. So So I'm going to move this over to here, and then we'll bring in this detail later. I'll show you how to do that. So let's go ahead and get this exported. So I'm going to save my drawing. I'm going to select all of this and go to export. Oh, I could export selected. Is that not a thing? Okay, let's try typing in export selected. Oops. Export PDF, export plot setting. What if I do export selected? Okay, so that might be a Rhino thing instead of an AutoCAD thing. So I'm just going to hit export. And I think it'll take the whole drawing, but that's fine. So let's save it somewhere we can find it. And this is going to be elevation plan storefront. And change this to a, I don't like any of these options. So actually, let's just save, let's select this and then go to save as. Okay, I was checking if there was a save selected. There's not. Okay, so just save it as a drawing. And yeah, and we'll save it here. So the reason we need to do this at all is because I don't know if Illustrator will read a 2018 drawing, so we need to save it to an older version. So we're going to call this elevation plan and save it to here. And change this first to 2007 and hit save. Update relative path, sure. Okay, so I'm going to open up Illustrator. And you're going to go to open, and you're going to navigate to that file. So desktop tutorial 3 elevation plan and hit open. This is really important. It's going to come up with DXF DWG options, and when it asks you what scale, you're going to go here to scale by 100%. And here it's asking you 1 unit is what? Like they want you to find 1 unit in your AutoCAD drawing is what over here. So change this to inches. So we're going to tell it what we want 1 inch to, what we want to be 1 inch on our drawing. And so let me check if this is, I forget if this is going to be in feet or in inches. I think it's going to be in inches, but we might need to redo this. So let's try this the first time and see what happens. Okay, so here we're going to say 4 units in my drawing is 1 inch. Okay, sorry. So you have to multiply this by 12. So it's saying that in AutoCAD, 1 inch here is going to, like, okay, so we're saying 1 foot in the AutoCAD drawing is 4 inches on in Illustrator. So actually, let's get like I need a whiteboard or something to draw to type this out. Let me hit cancel a second. Do they still have paint? They do. All right. So basically, we want a drawing that is 1/4 of an inch on my drawing equals 1 foot in real life, right? And my AutoCAD drawing is real life. So it's saying that 12, we're going to convert this, right? So 12 inches is going to equal 1/4 inch in Illustrator. So if you guys remember proportions, you can multiply that so that we're saying that 1 inch in Illustrator is equal to 4 times 12. So that means that we're going to say that 1 inch in Illustrator equals 48 inches in AutoCAD. So you would do that with whatever you decide that your scale is. So let's say my scale is 1/8, same thing. So I would say 1/8 inch in my Illustrator drawing equals 1 foot in my AutoCAD drawing. You would convert this to 12 inches, 1/8. Multiply the 12 by the 8, and you would have 1 inch in Illustrator equals, obviously I can't do math in my head, sorry guys, 12 times 8 equals 96 inches. That's about the most math we'll ever do in this class. Okay, so moral of the story is, if I go back to here, go to open, find my drawing, I'm going to say scale by 100%, and I'm going to say 48 units equals 1. Make sure you change this to inch. And let's see if that works. Centered art works all good, and hit OK. Okay, so that, no, I don't want that. Okay, so control minus, let's use zoom out in Illustrator. Control minus, control minus. Hang on, my computer is a little bit frozen here. Okay, it's caught up to me. So I think this worked right. So let's just double check. So I'm going to go to my artboards here, and I'm going to drag out the sides of this. And oh, right now my file is set in points. I hate points. I don't know what they mean. So I'm going to change my points to be inches in just a second. So if I go to File, Document Setup, I want to change the units here to inches and hit OK. Now if I go back to the Edit Artboards and click on here, yep, 24 inches by 24 inches. So we're good. We did this right. So before I do anything else, I want to get this detail that's over here added in. If you see, like, that detail is super tiny, and that's because we need it to be imported at a much bigger scale. So I'm going to delete it from here. And I'm actually going to save this first. I'm going to save this in Illustrator file, hit OK. And I'm actually going to reopen the other file. So I'm going to open this again. This time I'm going to scale it differently. So in this case, I think we want to say that 6 inches. Let's do, can I just do like new? Okay, so I think I want to say that 6 inches in Illustrator is going to equal 1 foot on my drawing. I think that's correct. Let's check. So we can actually look back at this other one we did and check what the scale on this was. Yeah, so 6 inches equals 1 foot. So if I go back here, that means that 6 inches equals 12 inches. 6 inch Illustrator equals 12 inches in AutoCAD. So I want to say 1 over here. So I'm going to get this to be 1. I'm going to divide this by 6. And that means that I need to multiply by 2. So if I come back to here, it's going to say that 2 units is going to be 1 inch. And hit OK. So it might really hate this because it's going to be so big. but I really just need that one little drawing. Yeah, it's going to be too big, so let's get out of this. We're going to have to make a whole nother file with this. I apologize. So I'm going to copy this, Control C, go to New. You want a CAD, that's all fine, and hit Open. Check your units here, make sure that they are architectural and unit list here. Hit OK. And then Control V is going to bring that in for you. Okay, so now let's save this file. So File, Save As, and this is going to be Detail. And you're going to save this as 2007 and hit Save. All right, so now we're going to import that file instead. So I'm going to go to File, Open. I'm going to get my detail open. And here we know that 2 units equals 1 inch from the math we did before. And hit OK. All right, so I'm going to copy this. And I'm going to just paste it into here. What I want to do before I paste, though, is check that, go to your layers here. And actually this, I don't know what yours will look like when you open it. I prefer to have it on Essentials Classic. That's right here, Essentials Classic. That just gives you like more options all the way around. So you're going to come to your layer panel here. When you have this open, there's this little options bar. You want to make sure that paste remembers layers for right now. So once you have that on, do Control V, and you can hit Add Swatches and hit OK. Add Swatches apply to all, OK. And now here's our detail that we can bring in. So I'm going to get rid of this text for this drawing. Okay, one thing I want to do is make sure that I label the scale so that I don't forget. So on here, I'm going to write 6 inches equals 1 foot, 0 inches. And I've already made a mistake. I didn't make a separate layer, so I really should come in here, make a new layer. And I'm going to call this text. And that'll just give me a little bit better control. To move something onto that layer, I can just move this dot up to text, and that'll move it to that layer. Okay, so this is 6 inches equals 1 foot. And then over here, oops. I didn't mean to redo that. Okay, I can copy this, Control C, Control V, and this one is at 1/4 inch equals 1 foot. Okay. So now that I have those two things set, I want to start playing with my line weights. So for this drawing, I think I'm going to make everything black. So I'm just going to do Control A to select everything, and then come over to here, and I'm going to select black here. And then click outside. So now all of that is black, which is good. The line weights came in from AutoCAD, but I think that they're a little bit heavy, so I want to adjust those. So I'm going to come over here to my layers, and hopefully all my layers will still be here. So these like weird ones are from that detail I brought in, unfortunately. I didn't go through and actually change that. So that, let's see what this selects. If you select this little bubble, it'll show you what's selected in there. I think this, that's on layer 0. Oh, so all that's on layer 0. Interesting. So I think because it's a block, it all came in on the same layer, which is a little bit annoying because you have to go in and change things little by little. So for example, if I want the glass to be thinner, I'm going to need to actually select all the glass here. So select all those lines, and then I would change my line weight. My line weight you can change up here, it'll pop up. You can also go over here click on this and so show options, and that'll give you more options over here. So on this, oh, okay, let's do one more thing. Control A to select everything, and then over here, change it so that things have a butt cap. And that's fine, and I would miter joints for the corners. Okay, that's it. Just so that you don't have like weird rounded ends to your things. Okay, so going back to this, to change the line weights of this, I'm just going to select them. And then these I'm going to make 0.25. That's going to be my lightest line type there. This stuff that's in the middle, what is that at? That's at 0.7. That's all stuff that's being cut through, so I'm going to see if I can select it if it's easy to. And it looks like it was all joined, so it should be pretty easy to select. And these things I'm going to change to be 1 point. And then these projection lines here, they're kind of beyond. Same thing with those. So I'm going to change those to be 0.75 point. These hidden ones I'm going to also make 0.25. So there are some situations where you're going to have to kind of select things little by little and change them over. And that's a pain because it's nicer when things are on layers and you can change them all at once. Okay, so at least that one's all set. I realize that these two look funny because I gave them an outline. They don't need an outline. Take that off. All right, so to change all of the line weights in here, you can come over to the layers, and then, for example, the exterior wall, select the bubble. That'll select everything on that layer, and then change that to be, we'll make those 1.5 point. Okay, the next glass, let's change all the glass to be 0.25. And I can either change it again over here or up here. Projection lines, let's select all of those and make them 0.75 point. Interior wall, select all of those. There's only one. Let's make that 0.75 point as well. Door swing. This I put on the door swing, which is wacky. I shouldn't have done that. So I'm going to move that to a new layer and call that annotation. So I'm going to move that to my annotation layer, and I'm going to give that a 1 point. And I'm going to get rid of the dash line because it shouldn't be dashed. Okay. So coming back to my door swing layer, I'm going to select all of that and make those a 0.5 line. I want it to be dotted. I think it already is, but it's such a small dot that you can't see it if you zoom in. So I'm going to change that over here, and under dash line, I'm going to try, let's try like 2 point, get rid of the gap and see what that looks like. That looks better, so we're going to leave that like that. Those are all looking pretty fine. Okay, so did we hit all of them? Our guidelines I don't think got hit, so those are on this 0 layer. I'm going to select those separately and give them a new layer and call it guidelines. I'm going to move those over to there. Okay, so my guidelines I'm going to select again using that. I'm going to make them 0.25. And I'm also going to come over here to opacity and change it to 50% opacity so that they fade back a little bit. They're just barely in the drawing. The one other thing I want to do is highlight where that detail comes in. So I'm going to select this little box, Control C, Control V, get a second one of it. I'm going to bring it over here, and I'm going to hold Shift as I make this bigger to keep the proportion the same. So I'm going to highlight that detail is the same as that, just with some lines. And this isn't like necessarily any kind of proper convention, it's just how I'm choosing to do this. So I want to make sure this line is on my guidelines layer. And I'm just highlighting at this corner is the same as that corner is the same as that corner. And it kind of, I'm going to change these to have the same weight as that. And I could just use this little eyedropper to pick up the style from there. So that highlights that this detail is coming from there. That's a really easy way to do it. And that is it. For this drawing, you can add color if you want to, so that would be done over here. You could also add some patterns, so I'll show you how to do that in case you're interested in doing that. So I'm going to actually make a whole new copy of everything. I'm going to make a new layer called Live Paint and hit OK. I'm going to lock my text. My Live Paint layer is going to go all the way to the bottom. I'm going to select everything. Something tells me my text is not actually on my text. Oh, I have a second text layer. That'll do it. Okay, so I'm going to select everything. Hit Control C. Now I want you to do Control V, but take off the Paste Remembers layer. So turn that off, and then do Edit, Paste in Place. At this point, I want you to come over here and make all the stroke lines none, like that. And then I want you to go to Object, Live Paint. Oh, it doesn't like something that's highlighted. So what's probably happening is there's some other text in here that is messing it up. So just in case, I'm going to move all of these onto this layer a second, so at least it's on the right layer. And then we got to see what's messing it up. I'm guessing it's in this detail that there's like some text. It doesn't let you add text to a Live Paint. Maybe those little things? So I'm going to lock everything else. I'm going to select all that again. And I'm going to go to Live Paint, Object, Live Paint, Make. Okay, so that was it. So it's those little things. And so what that's going to let me do is going to let me paint in some things. So if I come over here to my Live Paint tool, where is it? Over here underneath the Shape Builder tool, Live Paint Bucket, it makes it into a giant coloring book, which is pretty awesome. So I can come over to my swatches, which are right here. I can go over here to, this is like these little books are your libraries of swatches. So I can go to patterns, basic graphics, maybe I'll do some basic graphics lines, and I can choose any of these, and I can then color in the poche so that that really stands out. Or maybe, for example, I want to do something to highlight where the glass is. So I could go back to basic graphics, get one of these dot textures, and maybe I have that to kind of highlight what's glass on this. All right, that is it. The last thing that would be nice to have on here, though, beyond having the labels that you can add. So if I'm going to go back to my layers, lock all this, and then I'm going to unlock my text layer. So it's great that we have the scale written in, but it would be really nice if we could have it so that it was actually graphic instead, right? So there's different ways to do this. I prefer to actually go back into AutoCAD and make it. So I'm just going to go to AutoCAD and make a new file. Units, architectural, that's all fine, and change this to unitless, okay. So here I'm going to make a line, get my ortho back on, and this one is going to be like 1 foot, and then it's going to come up, I don't know, like 2 inches, and come over to here. Okay, so I'm going to take this. So I know that's 1 foot. right? That's going to be 2 feet. And then I like to have it also for 5 feet. So line, like coming from here, 5 feet, 2 inches, 5 feet. And I should have really joined all those to begin with. So this is going to be 1 foot, 2 feet. The 5 feet, though, I really want to start back here. So right now I'm just trying to figure out how I want to lay this out. So maybe what I'll do is continue the 1 foot, 2 foot pattern for 5. So that's like 5 feet. I'm going to move this over. That's 5 feet. And so I know this whole thing is 10 feet. Okay, so this is the graphic scale I'm going to use, and I can label it once I get in there. So I'm going to just save this. And I want to make sure it's 2007 and call this graphic scale. Okay, so I'm now going to come into Illustrator and I'm going to open it. The first time I open it, I want to scale it for the 1/4 inch drawing. So I'm going to do 48 units equals 1 inch. Okay. And I'm going to select all that, reverse it so that it becomes all fill instead of lines. Control C and bring it into this drawing, Control V. Yes, why not? Okay, and so that went on my live paint layer, which isn't great. I'll bring that up to my text layer. Okay, so I'm going to have this bar under here, 1/4 inch equals 1 foot, and I just want to label on here also what the main demarcations are. So here I'm going to put in 1 foot, and I want this smaller, it's way too big. Let's make this like 6 point. So 1 foot here, Control C, Control V. This is 5 feet in the middle. And then I can, oop, I'm missing the apostrophe. And then I can Alt, if you just hold down Alt and drag with Shift, it'll copy it for you. I'm going to make this 10 foot. Okay. I'm going to do that one more time, but scaled for this other drawing. So let's save where we are. I'm going to delete that. No. Okay, so File, open up that graphic scale drawing again. This time I want to say that 2 units equals 1 inch. Hit OK. So it's going to be really big this time. And we actually probably don't need this full thing in here because like we'll just go up to 5 inches. So I'm going to select all this, reverse this, Control C, or 5 feet. We don't even need 5 feet, but we'll bring that in and then judge. Okay, Control V, add swatches, okay. Yeah, so that's way too big. So I'm just going to have like a line that explains what 1 foot is in here. We'll write, because 6 inches equals 1 foot, so it's literally 6 inches. So that's too much. So I'm going to delete these out. And for this one, I'm just going to make a new line that goes to the middle of this. Is it going to tell me where the middle is? I'm intersecting too many other things. Okay, so one way I can do this is by Alt, copy this over. I'm going to make 2 of these. So I'm going to do Alt, control the other one over, get those so they line exactly up. I'm going to take both of these and just hold the corner until it, scale to the corner until it hits that end, and then that one hits that end. Okay, so now I know that each of these is 6 inches. And I'm going to make a slightly different symbol. So I'm going to have a line that goes from here to here. I'm going to give it a little bit of thickness. Let's give it like 2 points of thickness. And then I'm going to have 2 end lines. So like, or actually I can just, if you click on it and go to line style over here, you can add arrowheads, and I think there should be flat ones. Yes, I can add a flat arrowhead and another flat arrowhead on both sides. And here I'm just going to put in a 0 and a 1. So 0 inches. And over here, this is 6 inches in the drawing. So those are 2 different kinds of graphic scales. The whole idea of a graphic scale is that if somebody prints your drawing without, like prints it without doing the right scale, so maybe they'll, they hit like print to fit, this will still allow them to find at least a relative way to measure and understand the drawing. Okay, so I'm popping that in, awesome. Okay, thank you so much.